Hi everyone, it's Sally and Ali at our EmpowerZen Community Channel. So what are we talking about today, Ali?
Today we're talking about the next three of the 12 universal laws, laws 7, 8, and 9. And they are the
Ta-da! Drum roll.
law of compensation, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and the law of relativity. Awesome. Let's get into it.
Right, so this first law is the law of compensation. This is the law of where you will be compensated based on what you give. It's an extension of the law of cause and effect. So energetically, what you put out will be compensated by what you get back, but sometimes it's even more amplified in return. So it might not be like for like in a material way, but maybe in kind. For example, you might get back, you might have cash or good deeds or experience in an exchange. Do you want to talk to that, Ali?
Sure. So, sometimes we sort of think that we talk about an exchange of energy. So generally we talk about an exchange of money for goods or services, but you can also have an exchange of energy that, you give me an hour of physical training and I give you an hour of coaching or whatever it might be. But sometimes it might actually be that I give you something, but someone else gives it to me, in return. So it's not always necessarily tit for tat that I give you and you give me. It can be sort of like a circular flow of energy.
Absolutely. So there's a quote here by Robert Kiyosaki. I explain the law of compensation like this. Returns are minimal in spite of massive effort at the start, yet returns can be massive with minimal effort over time. So that kind of sums it up, right? So let's walk us through some empowered strategies, Al.
Yes, as we're saying, it's not about tit for tat. It's not about I'll only give you this if you give me that. That's coming from a very kind of closed mindset of scarcity. It's more about coming from a space of abundance, because I'm giving you because it gives me joy to give you, because I have enough to give you. They talk, in the Bible, not that I know the Bible too much, but it talks about the widow's mite. The widow gives her little piece of money. That's all she's got, but she gives it with joy, right? So it's about giving what we want out of a place of joy. And funnily enough, when you give with joy instead of just expecting, then you get back.
And spot on, because that leads right into the next point. You get out of life what you put into it. So bring your best self to whatever you do and aim to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Because it's important also, like you were just touching on, to be generous recipients as well as generous givers. And this is quite challenging for some empaths, right? Because it keeps the balance of abundance flowing and allows this joy of giving and receiving to continue in this circular way.
And for me, I always say, if you're someone who enjoys giving to people, why would you rob someone else of that joy of giving to you? And that's why it's just as important to be a generous receiver as it is to be a generous giver. And some people actually find it really hard to be generous givers as well, but it's important to be both. So be a generous giver as well as a generous receiver.
Absolutely. So that's the law of compensation. So then the next law moving forward is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Now, this sounds really, really scary, but it's not, because energy is everything, right? So energy is always in motion and it's changing forms. And it's good to remember when you're feeling especially stuck, that nothing's forever. It's just always in this constant ebb of flow. So this law reminds us that there's nothing to be afraid of, because energy is always in flux, and better still, you have the power to transmute or change it. Activate positive, uplifting thoughts that serve you rather than negative, heavier ones that don't, because you can transmute negative vibes into neutral ones, and then you can lift your energy into higher vibration.
I really love this because this puts you in the driver's seat, right? It's about knowing that whatever is happening, my friend who's now passed away, may she rest in peace, used to say all things are passing. So the good is passing as well as the bad is passing. So enjoy the good while you've got it. And know that when you're in the bad, so to speak, that it won't last forever. It will pass.
Yeah, absolutely. This too shall pass. So, this beautiful quote from James Redfield, where your attention goes, energy flows, but where your intention goes, energy flows as well. It's all about intention. And we are banging on about this year. Where is your attention going, and what is your intention? Because as you just said, we're in the driver's seat. So let's work with this energy, particularly when we have challenging times. Remember, this too shall pass. Right. So thoughts come into our mind. This is part of our empowered strategies, which I really love, because they're really empowering tools and tips that can help you do, step
Totally.
into this law in a positive way. Thoughts come into your mind regardless, but it's the meaning that we choose to give those thoughts that creates the energy that we choose to experience. Do you want to talk to this one, Elliot? Something that you're really passionate about.
Absolutely. I always say our thoughts equal our results, right? So something will happen and you'll get a thought. You cannot, a thought is almost, reflexive, reactive. It comes in without you necessarily being able to monitor it. So bring that thought in, but have a look at what are you making that thought mean? So a real example I use is, you wave to somebody in the distance and they don't see you. Or sorry, they don't wave back. So you might think they're ignoring me is one meaning, or the other meaning is they didn't see me, right? The meaning you give it will create different energy within you. And if you want to bring in an energy of feeling sort of stuck or nobody loves me, then it's like they're ignoring me. But if you want to bring in that energy of, no, it's just a normal human thing, they probably just didn't see me, have an open mind, and then you will have the kind of energy that you want to experience, being uplifted rather than being stuck in the negative. And you have the power to trigger positive change in your life by choosing the meaning you give your thoughts. And it's the same with the stories we tell ourselves. Instead of telling ourselves this negative sort of down, downlifting, the ones that get us down, think about uplifting stories and upgrade your thoughts, upgrade your stories, and live the life that you want from the space you want to, and bring in the energy you want.
Absolutely, because our thoughts do create our reality. It's just as simple as that. And once that sinks in, you think, oh my goodness, what are the thoughts that I'm putting in my head? Because we say this all the time. The thoughts you say to yourself in your head, you wouldn't say to your worst enemy. So let's just upgrade these thoughts to be positive and uplifting ones, right? Because everything is energy and it's just constantly moving. So we can constantly stop and change, reset our thought patterns, because it's the energy that we're putting out to the universe, right?
And it's important to know that it's not always possible to go from 0 to 100, but go in incremental steps. So if you're feeling really down and anxious or despairing, go up to feeling, a little bit like, in more of a neutral sort of space. And then you can go up to feeling more positive and more, then enjoy and love. So you won't be able to go from despair to love in one jump. You will have to do incremental baby steps and give yourself that space to just be. If you're feeling like crap, feel the crap. Try and understand why you're feeling like that and then move out of it. This is not about ignoring your feelings. This is about honoring your feelings, but not having to stay stuck in anything that's bringing you down. It's about, experiencing it, honoring it, and then moving through it and then learning from it to make your life better.
Good point. Learning from it, because out of every situation, there's learnings to be had, and I really like your point. It's like, allow the emotions to flow through you, because if you're in a Debbie Downer or negative Nancy mood, you can't be a Pollyanna overnight, right? It just takes time, and it's like being on a travelator. It's just like step by step by step. But just the first thing is to have the awareness so that you can change it. Have the awareness that you're in this sort of stuck rut or in this negative Nancy mood, and then you can work with it. So I mean, it's when we remember that energy is always changing, and we can transmute it, put it into the purple flame where it can just be transmuted, transformed, whatever, then it's a really nice thing to carry along with you, that nothing is forever, right? It's always moving and changing. And then moving on to the final law that we're covering today, the law of relativity. This law reminds us that experiences on their own are neither good nor bad. They just are. They're just neutral. But it's our human perception, our emotions, our thoughts, and our judgments that evaluate experiences, and the comparison of them is what creates labels of good or bad. So this is all about your power of perception. A good or bad situation is merely a perception that you are experiencing based on comparing that experience to something else. Do you want to talk to this, Ali? It's right up your alley again.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's about the meaning you choose to give it, right? So, I love this quote by Helen Keller that my mum used to say quite often. And she said, I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. And this is from a blind woman, right?
Yeah.
So you can really understand, how life can always be better or can always be worse, depending on the meaning you give it. And takes us to the next quote by Oprah. If you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. But if you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. So come from that place of, of abundance, that there is heaps to go around, that there's definitely enough. And what's kind of a bit less at the moment can be more if I look at it from a different perspective.
Absolutely. And I think, post-COVID, we've really brought ourselves back to this law of relativity and brought it back to basics, what is important in life, and then having that as your center point, if you like. And and then it's all about our own perception about it. And I think, a lot of people have been waking up and realizing that, what we do have is abundance around us, and it's not, not so much a mindset of lack now, but a mindset of abundance, which is so empowering, right? Which leads into our empowered strategies. Viewing a perceived bad situation from another perspective may actually help transmute it into gratitude. Do you want to talk to that, Ali?
Yeah, my go-to example for that was not Christmas 2022. My daughter and I were driving to Melbourne from Canberra, which is about an 8-hour drive. And she wanted to get away early, which is not my bag. I like to sleep in. So I said, okay, you get everything ready to go and I'll just rock up and we'll move out. So she packed the car overnight. We took my car because it's bigger and it saves all the miles on her car, which is a newer car as well. Packed the car. We got up in the next morning. We actually left before 8 o'clock, which for me is amazing. But she was driving. She's driving, so I could still kind of wake up in my own time.
Yeah.
So we get out of the place and we're driving for a bit further and the light comes on in my car. She says, Mum, the light's on. I go, don't worry about it, because it had happened before. Typically, ironically, when I was driving to Melbourne, I just had my car serviced and I was driving to Melbourne and the light came on. So then I rang my partner and go, Tom, the light's on. He goes, oh, don't worry, you just had the car serviced, off you go. And that used to happen to my car a lot. So I said, don't worry, Katie, just drive, that happens, whatever. So we drive a bit further along and now we're probably about 40 minutes from home. Then the car starts off. Then after a while, she says, oh, the aircon's gone off. Now, it was summer, so we really wanted the aircon on. We go a bit further on and she says, it's finding it really hard to move the car, to steer. So anyway, so we pulled over. Long story short, we actually had to come home. We had to get a tow truck, come home, change cars from my car to her car, and then go back again. She was really peeved because now we left at 10 o'clock, which was more my time. But we lost 2 hours and she'd made arrangements to meet her cousins in Melbourne to do some Christmas party stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I said to Katie, we were so lucky it happened where we were. We were kind of like less than an hour from home. We were able to get reception, to call the tow truck, bring us home, change cars, and get back on the road. Had it been any further along, we might not have been able to come back. We might have missed Christmas in Melbourne completely. So for me, that looking at sort of the relative situation is what we call in the emotional fitness formula a negative visualization. When you look at something negative that's worse than what happens, it makes what happens much more positive. So it's really about what's relative. Is this better or worse than it could be?
Yeah, great story, great analogy. So that is the law of relativity. So as a sort of a bit of a summary, we've still got 3 more laws to go, but so far in previous weeks, we've covered the first 6 laws: the law of divine oneness, the law of vibration, the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, the law of action, the law of cause and effect. And today we've covered the law of compensation, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and the law of relativity. And coming up, the last 3, we've got the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, and the law of gender. Now, the interesting thing, Ali, that we keep noting is that they're stepping stones from one to the other. So they all feed and fuel into the next one. And it builds a beautiful story, because a lot of people only know like the law of cause and effect, or, just the law of vibration or the law of attraction. But all these laws all have little intricacies that really, add or amplify our understanding of the laws and how we can use them to our advantage.
They're kind of intertwined in a way that they don't operate by themselves. They operate in concert with each other.
So that is our wrap up today of the laws, Universal Laws 7, 8, and 9. So that's been such a pleasure to share with you today, Ali. I feel very empowered by going through them, because change what you don't know. So once we're here just to enhance your knowledge and wisdom and understanding so that you can create more positive change in your life and work these universal laws to your advantage.
Totally. because, you know, life, we only have one life, and so you may as well make the most of it. So bringing all this information to you helps you to shift and lift your energy, as Sal says. It helps you to change your mindset. It helps you to live a more empowered life. And we're all about empowerment because, you know, why would you want to be anything other than empowered? Empowerment gives you choice. It gives you the energy to be your best self.
Mm. Absolutely. So that's a beautiful way to end. And we thank everyone for tuning in. Please like, comment, and share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we look forward to meeting you next time as we go through the final 3 universal laws. So until then, catch you later. See
Take care.
you.
Bye.
Bye.